say 4 copies of Anger of the Gods on top of a lot of removal is probably bad news for Ivan.
You think that's tough to beat?
4-mana deck Anger of the Gods is a lot.
There's only one player playing blue-red control here in day 2. Found him.
Yep. I believe this may be the Star City Games feature match debut of Mindswipe.
Definitely is.
Definitely.
Definitely. You can lock that up.
I believe that's the more aggressive man Sphinx's revelation.
Okay. Okay. That's certainly one way to look at Mindswipe.
AKA the hard lock. Get him low and then it doesn't matter. They got to cast something.
You know, what is that even a picture of?
Someone's mind being swiped,
Okay,
I'm guessing. I don't know.
I despise you. That's not helpful. There's something going on there. I feel like is that a tongue? There's like a dragon, a fiery arm. Something going on there. Probably better off not knowing.
I'm not going to speculate.
It's a little scary.
I don't have a great artistic eye, so.
Well, these players are 9-2, still in top 8 contention. Both of them just kind of do it their own way. They don't need Siege Rhinos.
So the big concern I have on Alan's side of the table is I think he's going to struggle to win if Ascendancy resolves. Because his deck is all removal spells. That's his plan here. So Ascendancy has a way of overpowering someone who's on the 1-for-1 plan. That said, if Ivan doesn't find Ascendancy or Alan's able to counter it with something like Dissolve, well, all the removal in this deck means it's going to be hard for Ivan to get much of a board going.
Let's get this party started. Ivan Jen's going to start off with a Mystic Monastery. Round number 12 is underway here from Los Angeles.
Both of these players, the only people in day 2 playing their respective decks.
Swiftwater Cliffs. We'll go back Jen's way. Dragon Mantle the draw step. There's Meletis Astronomer.
Just kill it.
Don't bother reading it.
Just kill it.
Just kill it. So let's see what Mai can put together here. Just a Temple of Epiphany. So it looks like Astronomer is going to get to have some fun here. Top card goes to the bottom. We're going Jen's way. And we know he can trigger Heroic, so he's going to do that with the Dragon's Mantle. Take a look at the top couple. The first one was just Guy's Ascendancy, so he's taking that with him.
He found it.
Yep. That's the piece to the puzzle. Now he gets to draw a card with Dragon's Mantle. And he has another Just Guy Ascendancy. Just in case the first one gets countered. The question is, does he have another land to play? I think he does. It's a Mana Confluence. It's another copy of Maletis Astronomer, and it's a passing of the turn. We'll go back Mai's way. There's a Radiant Fountain. And a passing of the turn. Back to Jen we go.
4 copies of Radiant Fountain in this list. 2-color control deck. Color mana is pretty sensitive, but there are a lot of duels.
Battlefield forges the land. It's time to be attacking. Rarely do you see Meletis Astronomer beat down.
With Dragon's Mantle on it, man, we can go to plan B.
Yep.
We're worried about Dissolve over there. Just start fire breathing them.
Is that plan B?
Plan F.
There we go. I think that's a little lower down the totem pole. Jen deciding what spell he wants to play. He's going to go with Just Guy Ascendancy. See if this resolves. And if this does resolve, then it makes you wonder what exactly is in Mai's hand.
Exactly. Yeah, not a lot starts to make sense. Although he did mulligan, I believe, to start this game, so maybe he had to keep a sketchy 6-card hand. But he is not putting up much resistance right now.
Yeah, if he can counter this, he obviously should. He's going to go with a little Mind Swipe. But it looks like Jen is going to very quickly pay for that.
Not a great debut for Mindsway.
No.
Gotta say.
Tough to watch. There's an island.
Would have been better there as perhaps a Room Boggle, a Force Void.
I don't even know what Force Void is.
It's delayed cantripped Room Boggle.
Oh, nice.
Same card.
Nice.
Better against Spirit of the Labyrinth sometimes, but basically the same card. Well, bam!
Yeah, there.
Take
boy.
that, army of fishes.
Boy.
You're not getting through this.
Yeah. That's a really nice picture. Are those fishes? I guess those are.
I don't
Looks
know.
like it's kind of like fire.
Fire or something? I don't know. It's vague. Yeah, it's a volcano that's erupting, I guess.
Yeah. Look at that. That's the ugliest card I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's the one. There's a Corona
Yeah.
Crusader. It'll be hit by a magma jet. Mile get the scry. Island among the cards here in Alan's hand that he's looking at. He just had Force Void just ready.
Little known fact
On
about me,
hand.
based on Eugene, because I used to do the basement drafts at Eugene Harvey's house with loose Ice Age and Fallen Empire cards.
Okay.
I may be the only human being alive who's cast myself or had cast against me literally every card from Ice Age. Every single one.
That's a nice thing to know.
Yep.
You're the guy.
Yep.
Got a lightning strike here in response to raise the alarm.
But, you can see the problem that Alan's having now once Ascendancy's in play. Ivan's draw steps are just too good.
Yeah, how's he going to keep up?
Well, Alan has Dig Through Time, and he has Anger of the Gods. Those are his two kind of catch-ups. But that's going to be tough. He also has 2 copies of Perilous Vault, meaning that he has some hope of getting Ascendancy off the table, but it's going to be hard.
Well, it's nice to have a reset button. We're going to go Jen's way. Well, you said it right from the start. Being an in-play Jeskai Ascendancy is very, very hard for my deck to do. Dragon's Mantle, the draw step here. Looks like Ivan might be considering another Jeskai Ascendancy now. And he is. Doing himself a lot of damage this game, but he doesn't seem to mind.
It looks kind of safe, although every card in Alan's graveyard does deal damage, so a little worrisome.
Yeah.
But I like getting the second Ascendancy online here. His hand has 2 copies of Dragon's Mantle, and those are, Ivan can't feel 100% confident those are going to resolve whenever he wants them to because there's so much removal in Alan's deck. So the second Ascendancy is a very good insurance policy about getting Magma Jetted and Lightning Struck a lot in response to things.
There are a lot of triggers now. As there's a Dragon's Mantle targeting the Malicious Astronomer with 2 Jeskai Ascendancies in play. So first, we're going to resolve the Astronomer. Take a look at the top 3, take an enchantment. There are none there. Next, we'll do Jeskai Ascendancy. So we'll see if he wants to draw and discard it all. See the dice that represent just how big the creatures are. So he will draw. Discard Manic Influence. Perhaps. Nope. Okay, so no draws with the Jeskai Ascendancy, just draws from Dragon Mantle.
Right.
Got it. Now he plays the other Dragon Mantle. Million triggers. We'll let us Astronomer take a look at the top 3. Nothing doing. Ascendancy trigger. Ascendancy trigger. Creatures get bigger. And now Dragon's Mantle trigger. See, this is easy.
I am really surprised how good Ivan is at keeping track of all this stuff. This is so hard.
easy.
There's so much going on.
Come on. Guy didn't win a Standard Open for nothing.
It's true. I'm not doubting the man's credentials. I'm just saying it's very impressive to watch in action.
And after all that, Alan Mize at 3. Draws a card for the turn. Seems like a relatively tough game to win.
I'd say so.
And he will concede this particular game. Ivan Jen's going to win game number 1 here over Alan Mai. Jeskai Heroic combo up a game over blue-red control, which means it's time to take a look at the old sideboards. I would say that I have the fun one, but I've seen Ivan's deck before. So you've got Alan and his blue-red control sideboard.
3 copies of Negate, a Disdainful Stroke, a Mind Swipe, 3 Burn Away, 2 Aether Spouts, a Perilous Vault, a Pearl Lake Ancient, 2 copies of Reality Shift, and a Voyage's End. The cards that I like here, definitely the 3 copies of Negate. Those are excellent here. If Alan can win the fight over Ascendancy, I think he's got a very good shot of winning the game. So 3 copies of Negate help a lot there. I think the 2 Aether Spouts are nice. Evan's got a big token element, and Aether Spouts is one of the few cards in the format that can, in fact, interact with Ivan the turn that he's going for a kill. I think an additional Perilous Vault will be good here for Alan as well.
3 Lightning Strikes, 2 Seeker of the Way, 2 Erase, 3 Glare of Heresy, 2 Negate, and 3 copies of Mantis Rider on the other side here for Jen. Anything really stand out to you here?
Well, if I'm Ivan and I actually knew Alan's deck list, Ivan probably doesn't, but if he's got to guess about what's going on, I would get the combo out of the deck entirely. If Alan's beating you, it's with a bunch of removal, and I don't think you want to be drawing Spring Leaf Drums and Retraction Helixes in that kind of game. So I would actually do some pretty aggressive sideboarding here. I think I would probably bring in the Mantis Riders, the Negates, even the Seeker of the Ways, just to be able to get cards like Spring Leaf Drum and Retraction Helix out of the deck.
I think that, yeah, there's going to be a lot of spot removal from this blue-red control deck. You know, Lightning Strikes and Magma Jets and stuff like that, where to actually get the infinite combo off seems rather unlikely.
You know, I like to think when I'm in matches like this, what's happening if my opponent's beating me? What's probably happening in the game? And if I haven't seen, what I'm thinking is either I don't draw Ascendancy or my Ascendancy fails to resolve, my stuff is dying, and I have a bunch of dead drums and Retraction Helixes in my hand. That's probably the winning recipe for Alan. So with that being the case, I would want to get the combo elements out of the deck.
Fair enough. We'll see if Jen does go that route as they do get shuffled up here for game number 2. We'll talk about Season 3 of the Open Series. We announced it last week when we were in Houston. As we take a look at the schedule, we're kicking things off with a Modern Grand Prix in Charlotte.
Which I imagine will potentially be a attendance-shattering event, or at least one of the top events ever. A Standard Open in Indianapolis, one in Baltimore, our first time in Chicago, July 18th and 19th. To move on to the next page here, Standard Open in Richmond, a Modern Open in DC. The following weekend we'll be in London for a Standard Grand Prix. We'll have more information as we get closer to the event. A Legacy Open in Charlotte the following weekend. We move into the September months after that with a Standard Open the Invitational Season 3 in New Jersey, a Standard Open Series, and Standard and Legacy as the Invitational format. End of August, me, you, and Matthias in the booth.
Gonna be a sweet run through Season 3. Lengthy season, pretty healthy. A lot of solid traveling, London, etc. Gonna have a lot of fun on that little range of trips. You know, Season 2 obviously is a shorter season, but Season 3 we'll gear back up, and then Season 4 we'll go over with you guys a little bit later today. We're really gonna gear up then.
2 events in Charlotte too, which is one of my favorite cities in the United States.
Love Charlotte.
Love Charlotte.
We've seen a Bobcats game. Well, Bobcats then, Hornets now. I fell asleep during it. It was pretty bad. But they have a nice stadium. And our friend got a nice Bismack Biyombo jersey.
Yeah, it was on sale.
Oh,
Deep
man.
discounts at the Bobcat
Yeah.
Stadium.
They were trying to get everything out the door while we were there.
You want to
Boy,
buy
oh,
an
boy.
Emeka Okafor jersey for
No.
$3?
No, I
You
don't.
can do that at the Bobcats Arena.
Oh, okay, so I've been informed here by the wonderful people on Twitter that Mindswipe is actually, looks like Rattleclaw Mystic casting a spell.
Okay. Sure.
I get it. I can see it. I can see it now. You Twitter followers, you guys are fantastic. Any question I need answered, they are just on it. It's
Yep.
really impressive. Somebody out there knows. Both players with a temple to start.
I try not to use it as essentially an extension of Google. Try to avoid that.
Oh, you don't kibble Google. You're not a fan of that.
Try not to.
Here's a spring leaf drum. So it looks like Jen has left the combo in. Because again, he just, you have to imagine he doesn't really have a great idea of what his opponent's doing.
Saw a lot of removal spells.
That's all he saw.
Some counter spells.
He could even think that, hey, my opponent just didn't draw white mana in his Jeskai deck last game.
Potentially, yeah. Though the plethora of red removal and Mind Swipe to me would indicate that he's kind of doing a different thing.
Perhaps. There's some lettuce astronomer. Here's Lightning Strike. We'll go back Mai's way. Let's take a look at the old drum. Affinity staple.
The card, it's been impressive how much constructed play this card has gotten over its lifespan.
I agree.
Because it looks really innocuous.
Here's a Perilous Vault. This one's pretty hard for Ivan to beat. When
Yeah.
it's like on the table and 5 mana up.
This is bad news.
Yeah. Great window to get that card deployed here. Mantis Rider the draw.
I mean, he does have access to the old tempo play of Mantis Rider, Retraction Helix that bad boy up, get the Perilous Vault off the table.
There's Mantis Rider. There's the attack for 3. I guess that is a play he could make. It's not the prettiest thing I've ever seen, but
No.
might get the
Different
job done.
dimensions post-board to Ivan's strategy.
Keep you off kilter. There's an island. That's land number 5 for the Perilous Vault. Here's Manger of the Gods. That'll be a negate. Crafty.
Concealed.
Yep. Gentle draw. Lettuce Astronomer.
And Alan wants to sit on this Perilous Vault for as long as he possibly can. Because Ivan can do very little. And answering a Mantis Rider is not hard for Alan's deck to do.
Might be time to go to the Ascendancy route. Yep.
Well, then he's definitely trying to tempo out. Because there's no way, I don't think he's deployed this to the table unless his intention here is to get the Perilous Vault off the table.
No, I agree too. Here's Retraction Helix. It's a pretty sweet turn, actually. I guess a draw and discard. It's a copy of Dragon's Mantle. He'll discard a Springleaf Drum. He gets to untap his creature. He gets to attack for 4. He gets to bounce the Perilous Vault.
It's not shabby.
I love this turn. Get that thing out of here. If you want to redeploy it, it's 4 mana in your entire turn.
And you're letting him untap with Ascendancy, Mantis Rider, or Drum in play.
Yep.
That could be a board that couples together a kill.
There's a Radiant Fountain. And there's the Vault again. Go back Jen's way. Let's Astronomer and Dragon's Mantle in hand. The draw step. A Crowan Crusader. Does Jen believe the coast is clear?
Well, he can't really split the difference is the problem now with Perilous Vault in play. He either has to be very conservative this turn or go for the kill. But he can't like advance his board, leave Alan around 8 and say go. That's not, he can't do that, so. And I suspect, given the resources he has left over in his hand, that he kind of has to go for broke here.
Opponent with 2 mana available could be representing quite a few things. We're going to start with the Crowan Crusader.
And I believe Ivan's trying to make some move here, at least with Dragon's Mantle.
Oh, yeah. Dragon's Mantle will target the Crowan Crusader. You'll have some triggers here. And the neat thing here is that if this resolves, there's no removal, no counterspell, then I think Ivan's going to say, okay, everything's been resolved, let's go.
And this might be the non-combo Ascendancy kill that we've seen out of Alan's deck sometimes. He's not going infinite, but he's got a Mantis Rider, some haste threats in play. If he draws the right mixture of spells, he may be able to just deal a bunch of damage.
Yep. dice will represent exactly what's taking place here as far as the Ascendancy triggers making creatures bigger. Let's see what the draw is. Manic Influence. He's been stopped immediately. So here's an attack. This will be for 6. He needed to chain off a little better there for sure.
I like going for it there. It's a good spot. Looks like the shields are down. You know, coast is relatively clear. Probably not getting better for you.
Mile plays Swiftwater Eclipse. He's up to 10 with the necessary mana to activate the Perilous Vault to destroy everything. And we're going to go back Jen's way. Everything about to get blown up here. So now it's on Jen to rebuild. Now he does have Lattice Astronomer in hand. And with a Heroic trigger, might not be too tough. We'll start by deploying that. Just pass the turn back over to Mai.
Looked like his draw step was a drum.
Yep. Anger of the Gods to draw there for Mai. Here's 3 mana. There is Anger. Get that thing off the table. There's a Vault. Another good time to deploy it.
Feel like Allen's turned the corner here. Dissolve and Dig Through Time, I believe, are his leftovers. It's a commanding position.
Bloodstained Mire the draw. It's a fetch land that can search for a mountain in his deck, but also adds to the graveyard for Dig Through Time. Just going to pass the turn back over to Jen. Jen with a copy of God's Willing as his draw step.
And this was sort of my nightmare scenario from Ivan's side of the table. You can see he's just drawn a lot of drums and helixes, and his stuff has gotten killed. And Allen's leftovers are so good.
It's time to go through time. Gonna leave Dissolve up while I can. So time to take a look at the top 7. Take 2 with him.
And now at this point, it's going to be a really big challenge for Ivan to recover.
I don't know if there's any coming back. That's a heck of a Magic card, don't get me wrong. It's just Jeskai Ascendancy, but there's an answer in play and there's an answer in Mai's hand.
Right. I would just not let this resolve ever, because if you let Ascendancy get into play, then it's possible Ivan can set up a hand that can power through a Perilous Vault.
I'm with you. That's the card. That's kind of enemy number 1, right? Just don't let that thing happen.
The rest of his deck appears to just be, you know, random permanents, so Perilous Vault covers everything else.
So the question with this blue-red deck, because it's basically mimicking what blue-black does, you've got Perilous Vaults and you've got these lands that come into play that gain life. Swiftwater Cliffs is your Dismal Backwater. Both decks have Radiant Fountain. But there are red spells here instead of black spells. You know, the big question is, which spells are better?
Well, Anger of the Gods is better than anything blue-black has bringing to the table in certain matchups.
Sure.
So that's got to be the big incentive, I feel like.
Both these decks obviously have Dig Through Time and a bunch of counter spells and card drawing. So black brings you Thoughtseize, it brings you Crux of Fate, it brings you Hero's Downfall, it brings you Bioblight. Red brings you Anger of the Gods,
Magma Jet, Lightning Strike, Mind Swipe.
maybe some sideboard cards.
He's actually pretty light. I mean, he's got Burn Away.
Okay.
Burn Away is a pretty nice option to have against Whip of Erebos decks.
Sure, I can see
So
that.
it's, you know. And sometimes people just do things, you know, just to do them.
No, I mean, he's 9-2.
Yeah.
And we're likely to be heading to a third game here. The base of the deck is very clear. I mean, your base blue deck.
Yeah.
And we've seen Jim try it with white too. So I don't know if there's a blue-green version to be had. I know we saw Gasari with a blue-green deck, but not this exact shell of things.
And also, at this stage of the game, you know, Alan's seeing so many cards that Mind Swipe turns into something that's just kind of lethal. It's
Fireball.
Counterspell plus deal a bunch to you.
He's kind of just playing like a counter burn deck, really.
Yeah, I mean,
We haven't seen one of those in a while.
He's got Mind Swipe and a million mana. If Ivan tries to cast anything, you know, if Alan cares about it at all, he gets to deal a bunch of damage as part of that. And then with the, you know, random lightning strikes and magma jets he's accumulating along the way, he might just kill Ivan.
You called it the aggressive player's Sphinx Revelation?
Yeah,
That's right.
a beat down man Sphinx's Revelation.
Nice. My kind of card. A Cron Crusader with a draw. It's a pretty hard lock
Yeah,
that Mai has Jen in right now.
and you can see Ivan kind of knows that he can't cast anything until he's able to negate back because of the Mind Swipes.
Yep. 2 cards here for Mai very quickly. Might just be on the hunt for burn spells now. That or Pearl Ancient.
Yeah, I think he just took lightning strikes. I think he's going to go just burn you down low enough where if you cast a spell and Mind Swipe resolves, you die.
There's 2 strikes. And I can't think of the last time we saw a counterburn strategy.
Dig through time, take 2 lightning strikes, strike you twice down to 11. This is my kind of control deck. I can get on board with what's happening right now.
3 dissolves, 3 mind swipes, I think, in hand right now. Perilous Vault in play. Mai is just hoping that Jen cast any spell.
And Ivan's aware of the situation.
Yeah, I
and the
think so.
Chrono Crusader he could have cast. He has God's Willing backup now. He's still not casting it. He knows if he makes a move here that he dies.
Maybe another dig through time here. That's what it'll be. Top 7 again. Somebody on the hunt for some more burn spells, perhaps? That or card drawers. I think he's got enough counter spells in hand.
Yeah. And he's going to be discarding a hand size soon anyway, so.
There's a lightning strike. Get you.
Sweet.
And he finally found a Pearl Ancient, too. That was the other card he took with dig through time. So you can sit there and do nothing as much as you'd like. But eventually, let's hear some Magma Check going upstairs. Push it to 6.
Like it?
Yeah. One on top, one on bottom. Pearl Ancient will just finish you off. I'm glad you approve of what's taking place here.
Like it?
Yeah. There's a Manic Influence. Would you like to cast a spell? No? I think the coast is pretty clear for the old Pearl Lake. I imagine Alan's not terribly familiar with what Ivan's doing, but I still think this is pretty safe.
Yeah. Pearl Lake Ancient against an opponent with nothing in play is typically pretty safe.
Yeah. That's going to get the job done. Alan Mai's going to win game number 2 here against Ivan Jen. Blue-white control and Just Guy Row combo. 2 brews sitting at 9-2. They're going to game number 3.
And that second game was a perfect example of the concerns I had keeping with the combo in the deck. There was a point there where Ivan just was glutted with too many cards he couldn't convert into real cards. And when he was getting hit with Perilous Vaults and Anger of the Gods and such, pretty hard to win.
Well, let's talk Season 4 of the Open Series. We talked about Season 3 after game number 1. We'll talk Season 4 here after game number 2. Kick it off in Cincy.
Yeah, Modern Open in Cincy. Then we go to Worcester for Standard, Milwaukee after that, Indianapolis the following weekend, October 3rd and 4th. The weekend after that, we're heading to Atlanta for a Standard Open. Legacy 2 weekends after that in St. Louis. Modern in Dallas, October 31st through November the 1st. A Standard Open back in Philadelphia, November 7th through 8th. A limited Grand Prix in Atlanta. Again, more information for that as we get closer to the event. A Legacy Open in New Jersey. Standard Open Series in Denver, where we haven't been in quite a while, December 5th and 6th. The Season 4 Invitational in Seattle, Standard and Modern as the Invitational format, and the Standard Open Series, December 11th through 13th, me, you, and Matthias in the booth. And then, of course, to round out the year, the Players' Championship in Roanoke, Virginia, December 19th and 20th.
We already know one person who's going to be there. That's Brad Nelson. We're working our way here, figuring out who the other 15 are going to be. Right now, looks like Jim Davis will be number 2.
It's looking real good.
Yep.
It's not a lock till it's a lock. As we know, we've seen some drama last year, but it's looking very good with Joe Lissette having a pretty poor weekend.
Let's see if Ivan can get a little bit better draw here. He got off to a nice start the last game. Got stunted pretty quickly, and then no chance of coming back.
Yeah. And I wonder, I've covered Ivan now a fair bit.
Yeah.
And there's been a bunch of matches where I'd say, I think Ivan should get away from the combo here. And I don't think I've ever seen him do it. I think he's always had the configuration in his deck.
In some capacity. You don't know if it's all 4 ofs.
Right.
But in some capacity, it feels like he always leaves it in. Always gives himself the out of comboing off.
But in this matchup, I think it's really rough to have those cards in there. Allen's game plan is kill that, kill that, kill that, start drawing cards. So if Allen's able to combo off, it means that Ivan either had a spectacular draw or there was something wrong with Allen's, most likely. Although Retraction Helix did do some good work that game, setting by Perilous Fault, Ivan had an opportunity to kill that turn, but he faltered and then never caught back up.
It's what the draws look like here for both players. Might have to send the old blue-red control deck over to the old sideboard with Nick Miller perhaps later today. A win here puts Alan Mayan in 10-2 spot with 3 rounds left to go.
Mindswipe's an intriguing addition because you get to these spots where your opponent literally can't cast a spell because they know what the consequences are. It gets countered and take a bunch. So when your opponent's saying go over and over again, well, then your Jason's Ingenuities are pretty efficient. We've seen other spots with, say, blue-black control or blue-white control where, you have 7 mana. I know that you have probably Dissolve and Jason's Ingenuity, and I test you with a pretty tough spell where you either dissolve it and then you can't Jason's Ingenuity, or you let it resolve and try to resolve your Jason's Ingenuity. But when it's Mindswipe, it's way harder to do that kind of play.
Yeah.
Because if I want to dissolve it, I can instead just counter it and deal 5 to you in a deck full of Magma Jets and Lightning Strikes and so forth.
The ultimate punishment. Looks like Jen's going to keep his opener. We'll see if Mai does. Temple of Enlightenment. Top card stays on top. Game 3 underway. A Plains the draw step. Island will be the first land. Pass it back. There's Mana Confluence. There's an Necron Crusader. See if there's any way to trigger Heroic. There's a Defiant Strike.
Yeah, got to get all this in while there's only a single blue in play.
Yep. Creature has haste too. Jeskai, Ascendancy, the draw, in for 1. Got to get at least a little bit of value. Now this is interesting here because you see the land that came into play. It's a Polluted Delta, no red.
Yeah, I think Allen kept a hand with Nullify and Dissolve, but no red mana.
Yep. There's an attack for 2. Here's 2 mana. Let's see what this is going to be. It's an Astronomer. I have a feeling this will get countered by Nullify.
Yeah, Allen cannot afford to not cast a card this turn. It almost doesn't matter what Ivan casts, but if he can nullify it, he's going to nullify it.
Oh, the days of searching up a Steam Vents with a Polluted Delta there.
Yeah.
Not in this format.
Thank goodness.
It's a welcome change. There is Nullify. Radiant Fountain the draw, that'll come into play. That'll turn on Dissolve at least. The life gain certainly does matter as well as we go back Jen's way. Jen will draw a card. He's looking for land number 3. Looks like he found it in Battlefield Forge. First things first, attack for 2. Putting Mai down to 16 again. Well, let's see what spell Jen wants to play this turn, because you have to imagine he's casting something.
Yeah, and I think Dissolve's on his radar. I think the fact that Allen is missing mana and a Scry is really valuable for him is also on his radar, so I don't think he's going to play any of his 3s.
There's a Crusader.
I've been saying if you're going to counter something, it's going to be something like this.
Yep. Top card. Stays on top. Red mana probably. Didn't get a great look.
That had to be red mana.
Think so? Yep, Swift Water Cliffs.
I don't even know if Alan, maybe he can afford to keep Dissolve on top. I don't know, it's a pretty short list.
There's a Defiant Strike. That'll target the Growing Crusader. That means the soldier's going to come in. And we draw a card. 4 points of damage to the attack. Temple of Triumph means Jen gets a scry. Take a look at the top card, stays on top. Pass that turn back over to Mai. Mai will draw. There's an island.
Now, he can't cast red cards, but he at least has an amount of mana that allows him to cast Dig Through Time and Jace's Ingenuity at this point.
Perilous Fault's going to get negated. That's a good thing to do to that, because that card's very hard for Jen's deck to beat. The draw here is God's Willing, and Ivan's going to very quickly take the opportunity to resolve a copy of Jeskai Ascendancy, I imagine. He does have Mantis Rider in hand too, but I think this is an Ascendancy turn.
Get this into play. And, you know, your opponent's blue-red deck probably will struggle to get this off the table once it's there. And Mantis Rider plays right into a potential Anger of the Gods. When Ivan gets this card into play, it's hard for Alan to win.
It's a pretty attractive turn, too, of casting God's Willing, triggering everything, getting a soldier into play, resolve the Ascendancy trigger. All your creatures become 2/2s.
Yeah.
You get to attack for 8 points of damage here, draw and discard.
And now with Ascendancy in play, even if Alan draws untapped red mana to cast Anger of the Gods next turn, Ivan can just re-up and reload. Not a big deal.
There's an attack for 8.
There's not that much untapped red mana in this deck.
Not really, no.
10 sources, as my count. Sorry, 8. 8 untapped red sources in this deck.
Less than 10.
4 Shivan Reefs, 3 Mountains, and a Bloodstained Mire.
This is just one of those games where, yes, Jen's deck can be the full-blown combo, but it doesn't always have to be.
No, you know, he can play a Jeskai token strategy if he wants to. And I think this recipe right here of Ascendancy, cheap stuff, some heroic triggers, and negates, this is a really good recipe against Alan's deck.
I think so, too.
All of Alan's payoffs are so expensive, you know? So negate's perfect against him.
So necessary soldier tokens in play.
You can see he can only cast 1 red removal spell.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily dead on board, but if Ivan has a spell, it's good to go.
And he's got a Dragon Mantle on hand. And Alan's trying to figure out if there's anything he can do to get himself out of the situation. The red mana is the issue. And I think he kept a pretty good hand, honestly.
If he had a 5th card in the graveyard, he could Dig Through Time for untap red mana and cast Anger.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's a card in the graveyard short.
Yep. And there is no Pyroclasm.
No.
So there's your dig.
I guess I'll look for Scouring Sands. Does not have it.
Okay.
He also could have drawn Aether Spouts.
Sure.
So there were some things he could have drawn this turn to at least give him another shot at it.
Spouts would have been filthy.
Yeah.
Jeez. There's the 2 cards with dig. There's Lightning Strike to take care of the Growing Crusader. But Jen's going to very quickly untap. He'll draw a card. We're going to see him cast that Dragon's Mantle or the Defiant Strike he just drew. Mantis Rider works too. It's all deadly here. There's a drum. There's this. That's going to get the job done. Ivan Jen's going to win this match here over Allen by 2-1. Jeskai Hero combo takes care of blue-red control, and for our Open Series champion from Oakland, he's on the right path to get back to elimination rounds. Ivan Jen's 10-2.
10-2, probably a 2-1 should get him to the finish line, maybe a 1-1-1.
Yeah.
But he's in great shape.